I would like to welcome our panelist for today's session, Mr. Manish Bajaj, Director, Corporate Banking at Citi Bank. Manish completed his CA in 2005. He has over 11 years of experience across corporate banking, investment banking, transaction banking sales, financial institutions, relationship management, and operations. During his stint at Citi Bank, he has covered corporates and financial institutional clients across South, North, and Western India. Welcome, sir. We also have the co-founder of Flip, who is an IIM Bangalore 91 alumnus. He has worked with MNC banks such as ANZ, Citi, Deutsche Bank. He used to head foreign exchange and derivative trading for Deutsche Bank India.
CA, though, the period of as a profession has developed significantly in the last, 10 years. I've seen it personally. Earlier, most of the roles which CAs would do, one was obviously practice across taxation, audit, and all that area. And the second was obviously most of the people would join industry, in accounts, finance, and tax departments. That was broadly, you would say 75-80% of the population who would clear CA would do that. And then there was obviously few people who used to go to the financial services world, which probably 10 years back was not developed to a great extent, and over the last 10-12 years, and more so in the last 5-7 years, has grown significantly, right? If you see industries like mutual fund or insurance, mutual fund industry, for example, has grown from $3 trillion rupees, which it was 10 years back, to 18 trillion rupees, right now, which is like 5-fold jump, and I would think that it will continue for the next few years, considering the amount of money which people have in terms of disposable income and investment in India. And with the growing per capita income, I think this will only grow in multiples in the future, right? So you have vast amount of roles which are coming up in this industry. Broadly, if you see in the segment, the largest in terms of job opportunity, which obviously will be on the banking side. With the GDP growth, which India is saying 6, 7, 8%, whatever we say, even 9% of people want to say that it will have in future. Banking would obviously grow. Banking will touch all aspects of the GDP, and that has to grow 2.5 times compared to what GDP grows. Within banking, obviously, you will see corporate banking grow a lot, and there'll be larger job creator, because retail, I personally feel there'll be a lot of automation, and there'll be a lot of redundancies in that segment. Hence, within banking, corporate banking side, institutional banking is what I think will get a lot of jobs. Then you have a lot of new industries like mutual funds, insurance companies. Insurance again has grown significantly, right? 2002 there were 2 insurance companies. Today there are 30 private life insurance companies, more or less same on the general insurance side. Again, the numbers have grown. The premium has grown by 3x in the last few years, and that again will continue to grow as insurance penetration goes up in India. So again, you have industries like mutual fund, insurance, which will hire a lot. And then you have new and sunrise sector like portfolio management services, right? With the per capita income going up, people want more and better, different diversification in terms of avenues to invest. So you'll have a lot of these people who start PMS. You have a lot of players in India nowadays who do this, and that's another segment where people will have large opportunities. Another large segment which I've seen, which has grown significantly. Even when I cleared CA, I got a lot of job offers from these captives, large captives of financial services firms, right? So you have a Citigroup, you have a JP Morgan, you have Morgan Stanley, RBS, and each and every of the largest financial institutions in the world have back offices in India. A lot of the financial, so FinCon jobs for these banks in India. You'll have a lot of even things like on the market side, like FX trading, creating FX strategies, even those kind of stuff, which is to a great extent the front office work. That also, I know a lot of people who are doing that sitting in India. So that segment, while obviously a lot of people don't speak about that, that's like a continuous growing segment, right? With all the cost cutting and the financial services world continue to face the bigger fines, the cost issue, the return of capital issues, this industry will continue to grow. And I've seen several success stories, in this space. Out of my probably 10-12 people in Deloitte, which were there, close to 3-4 joined. I was close to joining one, and all of them probably initially, they might not look, if I can use the word sexy in terms of compared to what others would do, but over a period of 5-7 years, once you're done doing well in these kind of firms, you generally go out. So most of them are out to Hong Kong or New York, and now they're part of the front office teams. They're doing extremely well. Whereas when they would have said at the initial stages when they joined that, okay, they're going to join the back offices of some of the large financial, obviously most of the people would think that a Citigroup or a JP Morgan in India would be a better job compared to what they would have done. But if you see 5 years, 10 years down the lane, it's completely different, right? They're doing much, much better at par than most of us. In terms of within these industries, right, I mean, what are the kind of jobs which CS can get? So primarily, I mean, I would say the first thing which most of these guys would hire CAs would be for analyst or associate roles. I mean, in a bank, you would do the credit analysis, and a mutual fund or insurance, you'll do the same thing on the buy side. In the bank, you'll do for sell side stuff, right? I mean, so if I have a corporate clients, set group of corporate clients in Citi, I mean, I'll have an associate or analyst who will join, be a fresh CA or MBA. Mostly a lot of CAs come nowadays, and they help me in writing the credit on that, and obviously apart from credit, doing a lot of other stuff with the client, right? So that's a starting point. Same way in a mutual fund and the insurance segment as well. I mean, for all the analysis on the buy side which they do, and the AUM which they are growing, and the way the industry is going, you'll have a lot of hiring there. Again, there, I mean, we generally see MBAs being preferred, but again, I've seen a lot of CAs going into that space right now. The third thing is on the institutional brokerage side, which is all your Motilal Oswal's, Inams in India, where, Indian brokerages, again Citigroup, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, of all the foreign brokerages. These guys again hire hell lot of CAs for all the initial analysts work, and believe me, if you do well there, I mean, there is a fantastic growth path there. I've seen people doing really well. The curriculum would not give you any sense in terms of what the market is, in terms of opportunities, where it is. I mean, you have to do everything on your own. Whereas if you do something kind of a crash course, which gives you a broad overview, at least in terms of what opportunities and what each industry looks like, what is the outlook for each industry, it gives you a broad overview, and then you can have initial interest and you can read through more and then figure out what you want to do. At least it gives a good lead start in terms of what kind of stuff you want to do. See, it's very important whenever you go for an interview after you clear, or even for industrial training, that you know very well in terms of what you have done in the articles. For example, if I hire someone, if I want to hire a CA, for example, right, I know that he might not know great thing about banking. Now, if you do this course or probably some other course, and you know probably how transaction banking works and what exactly is trade finance, that's obviously a plus point. It helps you a lot, because then at least I know that you have taken the extra effort to at least understand how the bank looks, what is corporate bank, what is retail banking, what is commercial banking, what is mid-market banking. Obviously, it gives me positive vibes about you, because you at least spend time figuring out what you want to do. But it's important, at least one of the key reasons what people see, and at least in our organization, and most of the people I know see, is that what you have done in the past and what you mentioned in the CV. Say, for example, you've done audits of 10 companies, right? And you will always mention audits of 2-3 very large companies, what you've done. And it's always important to know what all you've done there, what is a view of that industry, and most important in terms of what is your view on the business side of your audits? I mean, one is obviously doing the audits and financials and everything, but how well you understand, say for example, you've audited BPCL, right? How well do you understand the dynamics of how a refiner or upstream oil and gas company works? Actually, the intention to learn, I mean, that's very important. You have to be mobile. I mean, most of the organizations today want people to be mobile, to be available, to move within India, outside India. And that's extremely important. So these are the key things which, according to me, you should prepare. I mean, you should know what you've done. You should know reasonably well in terms of where you are going, what is the organization about, what kind of role they are offering you, and briefly well in terms of how that organization works and what is the career path which you want.
If you can also help them, because obviously, like, an MBA companies come to campus, right? In CAs, correct, it may not always be the case. So, if I'm a chartered accountant, how do I go about applying to these companies? Is there any kind of ideas or suggestions that you can give them?
So, frankly, again, I mean, you have to use your network to a great extent. You have LinkedIn nowadays. These kind of platforms, again, I don't know. I mean, I presume you also probably support. I mean, courses like
Yes,
these and
we do offer some placement support. Yes.
yeah. So then, I mean, obviously, I mean, this is one of the ways which helps people, because otherwise, see, I mean, I can give you 10 ways to do it, but if I am in a position of most of the people listening, right, apart from the people whom I already know, which I would anyways use, right, and then there's LinkedIn, and then you would use indirect contacts, but again, and then you have the Naukri.coms and Monster.com, but beyond the point, I mean, you don't get there in many situations, right? You have campus placements in CA, but I don't think they're as effective as an MBA, right? So I mean, courses like these which help placements, or agencies like these which help other agencies which help placement, are clearly an advantage. I mean, people should make use of that, and platforms like these only will grow in future, right? I mean, because especially for CAs at least.
From your experience, I'm sure you must be getting, let's say, Citi must be getting thousands of resumes from. Would you look at cover notes? Do you look at is a good cover note essential? Is just a CV okay? Any suggestions there?
I think I think cover note or not, at least I mean at least in City, doesn't really make a good difference. I mean, if you write it well, obviously it can have a positive impact. If you don't have it, doesn't make a difference. I mean, that's my take, and mostly our internal take on cover notes. On the CV per se, I mean, it's very clear that one, basic formatting stuff and all that stuff, the basic stuff should be very simple and clearly done. There should not be gaps around such things. And then, as long as you have described in brief detail on what all you've done in the past and what are your achievements in the past, right? I mean, if you have, say, done audit in Deloitte and managed so and so this thing, you've got some award in Deloitte or some other audit firm, and all things should be mentioned and carry a lot of weight, because there are very few things which you can mention. I mean, right? And as a CA, you would have limited time for a lot of a lot of things, frankly. I mean, or most of the CAs would agree to that. So then what you've done has to be mentioned very detailed. I mean, if it goes into 2 or 2.5, 3 pages, I mean, it's fine. But as long as you have to just really mention what you've done, and especially or a lot of audits and audit firms gives you opportunities to do special situation audits, or say consultancy assignments or advisory assignments. Those things should clearly be highlighted most times. I mean, that gives you added weightage very clearly.
So I have one more question from Karan. So he wants to know what one could do after CA intern in the area of finance.
My personal thing would be, I mean, a lot of people do stuff like CS, which personally, I mean, unless you want to do that kind of specific role, I don't really recommend that. If you think that you have a lot of time, because I think nowadays you have, after inter, you have a gap of probably 2.5 years, right? So then if you're inclined, I think you should do a lot of, you can do a third-year internship. I think that's still allowed. That's the way it works. I don't know. In the CA course, that's surely, if I mean you have sufficient time and you can invest that, you should do internship. Second is, I mean, if you have more focus, say for example in the financial services space, and you're keen to go on the investment side, of the buy side, sales side, on the investment side, then you can do, say for example, the CFA course. I mean, that time adds a lot of value, because you have a lot of time available with you. That's something which in that kind of a situation you can always do. I mean, that's one thing which I can think of.
And you can do role. I mean, I'm not saying my flip certification per se, but flip for NCFM, some role-oriented certifications also you can do in your if you have the time, and that will also help in your.
Yeah, I mean, so for example, if you already know that you have a specific interest, say in mutual funds or in insurance, I mean, there are a lot of courses around specific industry also. So that is something definitely you should do.